Hey team, I wanted to make a quick video on environmentalism, on being conscientious of our natural resources. I have been doing quite a bit of research, kind of looking into different things. It started with a gray water experiment. I was looking for something to do environmentally friendly that I hadn't done before, and so I found. Capturing gray water and reusing it. And so it kind of led to this whole slew of experimentation with what to do with it. So I did some research and I looked into, our water consumption as a planet. And, it talked about hidden water footprints with the creation of new products, new goods. A lot of times there will be water associated with some part of the production process, like in fabrics, with washing or starching or what have you, purifying or whatever. There can sometimes be some water consumption there. So the hidden water footprint. Also, I came across this idea that we are going to be using more than our allotted amount of water here on the planet. As of 2030 per 2009. So hopefully we've been making strides. But I realized I did not hear anything about this. I did not know that we should be taking strides to save water, conserve water. I don't know if they were just focusing on industry for that, but I don't want to use more water than we have on the planet. That sounds like a terrible plan. But so that made me very much more conscientious of it, obviously. And so I continued to do research, and it said that about 70% of our water goes to agriculture, and that kind of leads into, well, what are we doing with our agricultural footprint? And that led to some studies on ethanol and fuel. Obviously, fossil fuels and fuel. A lot of agriculture does go towards corn and products that are used for ethanol. That 10% in our fuel, and it is quite a bit of a footprint. I don't know. I do need to do more research into the agricultural sector, but it is quite a bit, and so that kind of led to a study on fossil fuels, and they are literally used in so many things. It's in our plastics, so that's why try to avoid the single-use plastics. It's because we don't have an infinite amount of fossil fuels. I saw on the internet, it was kind of a joke. They said, we've had about 30 years of fossil fuels left for X number of years now. So we don't know. But per the article, we don't really know when we're going to run out, but we probably will at some point. So they have been doing research to extract the fossil fuels from the rocks. And I think that kind of indicates how much we need fossil fuels if they're trying to get it out of rocks. And obviously a lot of our electric comes from those fossil fuels, and the burning of those fossil fuels. And so that leads to swapping over to solar energy and the renewable resources. If you can, like wind turbines, and just being more conscientious of that. So they're all so interconnected, and every element reminds me: reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce, reuse, recycle, because there are finite resources on this planet, and we don't know when we're going to run out, when we're not going to have those available to us anymore. I know they're doing research into bioplastics, and they said that bioplastics aren't necessarily biodegradable, but they could be made out of like foodstuffs. So there's a whole science, dedicated to figuring out how we can replace the fossil fuels and plastics, and try and make that more sustainable, but that leads to the agricultural footprint that we already have so much for the ethanol. And then so they all kind of lend itself and to each other, and they kind of overlap. And because if we do have more bioplastics, then we need more agricultural land dedicated to those plastics. And then do we have that land versus the ethanol? And we need to make sure that we have the forest for carbon capture to protect our neighborhoods, keep them cool, to keep promoting carbon sequestration, to keep promoting oxygen creation, and those safe, environmentally friendly spaces for peace of mind, and for psychological reasons, and for our ecosystems, wildlife and things like that. So we need to have those. So we can't just plow everything over for agriculture. And then, so we need to be mindful of how we reuse things, how we use things and how we reuse things. The less garbage we create, the less new things we need, in theory, so if we can sort that out. And, they said for garbage even, they are trying to collect methane out of garbage, methane gas as a resource. But they said it's not enough. Landfills, they'll fill them up, and then they'll put dirt over them, bury them, and then have methane collection at various points around the hills to kind of collect the gases that are going along with the garbage deterioration process. So they are capturing that, but they said that it's not, that the gains are not are not meeting the costs in way of the equipment needed to capture that methane, but it's still a renewable resource. It's, well, I guess renewable resource, but it's still a resource that we can use for energy. And so it's, and it's weird, but everything feeds itself, feeds each other. Everything is connected. So we just need to be mindful of that. Looking into electric cars, maybe. I looked at a solar array because I thought, my footprint isn't that big. And if I can take care of myself, that's one less person on the grid. And then, that solar or that renewable energy can go towards another person. And just 100%, if I'm 100% renewable, that's great. That's really good. Of course, then there was some research done into solar panels and the waste stream that will come with them, and what parts can be recycled and what parts may be considered like biohazards. And that's not all solar panels. Some might have a couple of potentially toxic ingredients, but at a very, very minimal amount. And so they might need a special recycling process. But it's, it's just interesting because it said we're going to have obviously we will have so much if all the solar panels around, around the globe kind of start to crash. But we don't know the exact lifespan. 30 plus years they can go strong. So so it's all kind of variable. Everyone I think is trying to help, or should be trying to help, but it helps if you know that you need to help. That go time, we're gonna use more water than we have on the planet by 2030. That's no longer 20 years away, 30 years away. That is in 7 years. And of course, looking into more research, we can see what has already happened agriculturally. They've been talking about different types of irrigation systems. I've seen a lot of places still using the overhead, in the air type watering processes, and that lends itself to dehydration. before it can do much good. But depending on how hot it is, of course, and XYZ, all sorts of things. But they, obviously it's been tested, tried and true, and so they know, because we also need the plants that come with those fields. So it's hard to experiment because we need those plants. We need those resources. So, but they have like drip irrigation now that should lend itself to less. There are other like in the ground irrigation systems and like flooding the land and systems that you can kind of reuse some of the water that isn't absorbed by the roots and by the soil. So there are different ways we can go about this, but I do know that we need to be mindful of our footprints, and we need to move forward safely, and we need to take action now. We need to be the change, and we need to take it now. So I've been very interested in this area of study, and I'd like to continue it, and I want to spread awareness, because I did not know where we were at. I still don't know if I know where we are at, but I just want to make sure that everyone knows that it's our responsibility to take care of this planet, and we have to do it. We have to do it, and we have to do it now. So that's all, and have a great day.